Hello, everyone. I'm just so happy to be here with all of you today. Technology is, of course, changing the way that we work. You all know this so well. You're right in the middle of the action. And the critical question that we need to ask ourselves is how can we use the power of technology to make the workplace a more inclusive one? We heard about this earlier when Jody and Coach Carey were up here in that amazing talk that they did, and they talked about what I want to talk to you about, intentional action. And I'm going to tell you 3 critical ways I think we all can use more intentional action to build a more inclusive workplace through technology. So let me start first with ourselves. We all need to dig deep and think, how inclusive are we really as individuals? I know our hearts are in the right place, but do our actions always match what we think? You know, sometimes it's just human nature for that to not be the case. So I think we can all ask ourselves a simple test. How extensive are our own personal networks? What would we have to do to make them more diverse? I gave myself a very simple challenge about 10 years ago. I was asking, why are more diverse people not in key roles? And then I started to think, what am I doing? What have I really done? Let's make it start with me. And so I made myself a simple rule. When I was asked, who could you recommend for an important task, a job, refer someone, I would not answer until I could think of a diverse candidate I myself would put in the role. Just a simple test that all of us could take on and do. My message is really this. If we are committed to taking action, then we are likely to be called upon, and we need to be ready. The second thing I want to talk about is how we can actually use technology to enhance the culture of inclusion. You know, I'm a little guilty of this. I used to think about how will I preserve our culture within our organization despite technology. But I listened to a very interesting talk only a few months ago where the concept was really put out, why is technology not an enabler of driving our more inclusive culture? And I started to think about that message and realize things that we were doing that really did leverage the power of technology to drive the more inclusive workplace that we wanted. Let me give you a couple of examples. E-learning. Here's a spot that is truly democratizing learning. Think of all the ways that we can learn online. Almost anyone, almost anywhere. This is a huge opportunity. Think about responsible AI. 59% of Canadians are worried that as we roll out more AI into our products and services across all industries in Canada, that we may not get the results we want if we don't have a more diverse workforce. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to invite an amazing colleague of mine up to talk to you a little bit more about what we can do to help that. Really, what does it take? Intentional action. And the last thing I want to talk about, and this is just an amazing gem of a story that I love within our organization at TD. We have an assistive technologies lab. Through that lab, 8,000 of our colleagues have received the assistive technology they need to do their jobs. This is one of these places where you can go and it's easy. It doesn't seem like you're asking for a lot. We're ready to serve our colleagues and make them more ready to live up to their full potential in the workplace. It's truly a very special place. So as we think about our theme today of being all in, let's think of how we can be all in through technology to drive these inclusive workplaces that we want. And my last message before I get my friends out here on stage to talk to you is about taking this passion beyond the 4 walls of our organization or your organization. How do we share our passion for inclusion and our way of leveraging technology for inclusion outside of our own walls? We will only be as strong as the communities in which we all live, work, and play. What I want to talk about under this point is something you all know very well. We're in this room today trying to do more to fix the underrepresentation of women in STEM. Super important. But it's really only one piece of the puzzle. As we think forward to how will businesses meet their competitive and strategic ambitions, what is going to be very, very key is the ability to leverage technology to do that. If you think back in time, a great business leader had terrific commercial acumen. They had great leadership of people. But what are we going to need in the future? A third leg to that stool for great leadership, and it is the ability and understanding to leverage technology to meet the strategic ambitions of companies. And so not only do we need women in the STEM roles within organizations and elsewhere, we need all leaders to truly understand technology. And so my message to you is this: if we are not intentional about making sure that women feel the confidence, capability, fluency, invitation to being part of technology as we move forward, women will be left behind for even the general leadership roles of organizations of the future. Obviously, we cannot let that happen. That is why we are here today, talking more about the inclusion of women in our technology work. We need to do this not only within our organization, we need to be out in our communities doing this. At TD, through our READY commitment, we are funding a number of terrific organizations. Move the Dial, obviously, today. Actua, First Robotics, college-based programs like Helix at Seneca. We're at Ryerson working on spanning the gaps. There's so much that we can do, and what I would like to challenge all of you who have such a great set of skills and abilities, what are you doing to help women gain these skills that they need to be the future successes we know they can be? What I love about these programs is we do far more than give our money. Our employees, so many of whom are here today, are terrific and passionate volunteers, mentors, and coaches as we all move forward together. So my message is really where we started this morning with Jody and Coach Carey: intentional action. We need to leverage and benefit from the opportunity that technology is providing to make a more inclusive workplace for all of us. Enable us to shape the future we all want to be a part of, that's inclusive and leaves no one behind. So now I would like to ask two of my amazing, amazing colleagues to come out and join me on stage today. We have Paige Dickie, who is the Senior Manager in our AI company at TD, Layer 6, and Colleen Ward, the Vice President of Canadian Credit Cards and Merchant Solutions Technology. Yay! Welcome. Looks pretty good from here, right?
It does. Wow. Hi, everyone.
I'm going to start with a question for Colleen. Obviously, you've spent a lot of your career in the technology field and working very hard for the representation of women in that field, retention, advancement, attraction. Can you just talk a little bit about some of what you have done and are doing?
So my women in technology, my WIT colleagues and I are very passionate about this. Woo! So we do many things. So I'm going to go through them quickly because there's so many, but I should only highlight three. So recruiting. We try to tap into every event that we can to recruit, either overtly or subtly, always trying to make connections. But we're really successful with our WIT focused recruiting event where we host 200 candidates and entertain them, delight them. It is remarkable and deemed one of the most successful TD events where we have over 100,000 social impressions. Yay, TD! But it doesn't actually start there. We start in the cradle. You mentioned Actua. We actually partner with Actua to coach young girls, grade 6 and younger. We do Girls Rock IT. Yeah, yay! Girls Rock IT. She Hacks. We sponsor She Hacks at Canadian universities. We cultivate that talent at a young age. And then when you join the TD family, It truly is a family, it truly is a community, and I see so many of mine right in front of me. Thank you for being here. And it truly is about learning and mentoring and networking, and we have accountability circles, Steer Your Career, where we help with your social media brand, and swagger skills, how to showcase your confidence. So it's plentiful, and our senior leaders are very vested in our talent and in our people, so it's quite the honor.
That's amazing. I had the chance to be with Colleen at the WIT recruitment event, and what was really neat is we had colleagues who joined the year before from that event, and they came back and told the story of their year. These very powerful and emotional stories, so terrific. So Paige.
Hello.
Hello. Responsible AI, such an important topic, and I mentioned our statistic from our research report that 59% of people are worrying about the diversity in the AI field. This is obviously your field. Can you talk a little bit about what can be done, what we are doing to increase the diversity in the field?
Sure. So I'll start with why I think it's an important issue. Algorithms have become prevalent, and we're benefiting from their use in a range of domains, from airplanes to online shopping, personal assistants, you name it. And it's generally accepted that if we're overly slow to adopt these technologies, we'll disadvantage our Canadian economy. But as we begin to implement these AI, we're starting to see some ways in which it can go wrong. For example, one machine learning tool showed racial bias when distinguishing between two images. And another one consistently showed female searchers ads for lower paying jobs than their male counterparts. And to add to this, as machine learning penetrates our society in areas like law, finance, and medicine, the need to understand why a model made a particular decision becomes increasingly important. So to recap why it's important, it's beneficial in our society, but it's being used in higher stake applications. They're becoming more complex, and they've demonstrated the potential for bias. Now, to address the second part of your question around what TD is actually doing, I'll start with the report. So firstly, people trust in their banks, and TD takes that incredibly seriously. We feel it's our duty to ensure we're protecting the interests of our customers. And so about a year ago, we kicked off a roundtable discussion with a number of subject matter experts and a survey of our Canadian population to better understand the use and trust people have in this technology. And to understand the use people had in this technology. And as we begin to, there are a number of things that we can do to, there's actually a stat that you talked about. Sorry, the 60% of people, 59% of people felt that if we, which I found really insightful from the report, that if we don't have diversity represented in the field of AI, then we're risking, it may lead to biases in the way the technology is developed. So at layer 6, we've actually grown from 13 to 40 employees, and we're coming from over 18 different countries. So we're really working hard to ensure that our workforce is representative of the Canadian demographic. And not just that, there's a number of technical things that we're doing, approaches that we're leveraging to ensure we're promoting diversity. Firstly, even though the models are really complex, we can assess the outputs themselves to ensure we're getting equal parity across different sensitive groups, and that we're not really basing decisions off things like gender or ethnicity. And secondly, Layer 6 has a platform called Cortex, and this allows us to interrogate our models and kind of poke and prod so that we can better understand why a model makes a particular decision in any given case. And so to kind of sum this all up, it's still the early days of this technology, but it's not just a high priority for Canadians, it is a top of mind priority for Layer 6 and TD Bank, and we're working swiftly to understand both the short and long-term impacts so that we can continue to build upon our beautiful, multicultural and diverse Canadian economy.
I mean, what I love about what you're talking about, and I know you're super passionate about, is the intentionality within it. I think as we think about it, it's obviously a complex field, but if we enter intentional in how we'll do it and build the tools around to make sure we're meeting our intentions, I think that's awesome. So we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to take a minute to share. Colleen has shared with me a very compelling story about why she's so excited to be here with you on the Roy Thompson Hall stage. So I'm just going to ask Colleen to share that.
Okay, so I'm not going to get emotional. It was
more
than 2 decades ago, pre-Netflix. So I used to binge read. And I used to read certain authors quite religiously. And someone decided they were going to surprise me. And they brought me to Roy Thompson Hall, and it was my first visit here. So I was already awestruck with being in this type of forum. And then upon entry, I saw who was going to be here. And it was Maya Angelou, who I greatly admire and inspires me, and reminds me very much of my grandmother. And just her words, and I almost felt like she was looking at me and saying such inspiring, empowering, and words that I'm invincible and we're phenomenal. She just uplifted me, and here I am on the stage where I saw one of my heroes. So it was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Well, before we go, I just want to say on behalf of our colleagues here from TD and my amazing panel, we're just so happy to have joined with Move the Dial for this amazing event today. Thank you so much to all of you for being here, and thank you to Jody and the team.
Thank you. Thank you.